Last year at the Trinity Forum, you were given a platform and actually delivered a very, very impactful and impressive speech. I think this is really a very good time for you to air once again some of the key elements of that presentation.
I was basically asked to step in for somebody who couldn't make it, so it was pretty much unprepared. And I was asked about how the retail will develop and everything. I do highly believe in the Trinity model. I do highly believe that this is something that has definitely feet and that will one day will come to its place. The point is, it starts with the airports. And I think this is the one thing why we haven't achieved with this whole Trinity is not about promotions. Trinity is not about who glorifies best. Trinity is about addressing the business model. And this is what I basically said, that we've been looking at this business model, we've been coming up with flexible contracts, and I think the next step is to reevaluate, is this model one that is sustainable, and is this the model that we as an airport want to pursue in order to grow our revenues, because we have to grow the revenues, but in order to grow the revenues we have to focus on the synergies. It doesn't make sense if you have so many synergies that are being put aside because you've got duplication of brands, and it's also the quality of retail. If every retailer would have the same quality, I don't think that the joint venture model, for example, would come in its place. Yet, I've seen that there's different modes of operations, different operators that work differently, and we've been starting to really look, could the next model for us be a joint venture model? We all agree that it is, and this is basically what I mentioned during the Trinity, because I don't think that a brand can deliver so much more, because the brands have been squeezed to the end. The retailers have been squeezed. If you look at the model, I mean, certain concession fees that have been paid or have been announced. If you understand a bit the P&L of a retailer, you know that this is a loss-making business if you're not focusing. And if it's loss-making business, a business that goes into minimum guarantee, and I've told it last time, it's a vicious circle. People will cut costs and everything. And this is the one thing that we don't want to do. We want to focus on investing in staff. We want to invest more into retail premises. And that would also mean that the airport is considering co-investing into the premises, because what we want is, we just want to create a great retail environment where service is key, and for service you need staff. And I think this is a bit the illness that throughout this whole squeezing that has happened in so many years, that the operator doesn't have the chance to have enough staff on the sales floor. And the selling process has become a self-service process. And this is something that I do believe that doesn't grow the business forthgoing. And I think that what I said in Trinity, I'm standing for it, that it really starts with the airports. I think it is the airports that have to look in their own basket, what can they contribute, instead of just squeezing left and right. I think there's too much squeezing, and there's less investment in maybe a bit less concession fee, but for that through quality, higher volumes. Because they all want the best concession fees. We've not taken all the best concession fees that have been offered in the last years. We wanted quality, we wanted focus, and one thing for me is staffing, that people have staff.
The problem is that you're taking the high ground here, and there are rather too many airports who fall into the trap of becoming the prey of the highest offer, which is put on the table, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's good for anybody. Not good for the airport, not for the retailer, and certainly not good for the passengers who's going to be paying the ticket at the end. I think that, you know, we're becoming, the industry is becoming overly focused on the polarization that's taking place, and the fact that concentration is in the hands of so few. There needs to be other players who think outside the box, who want to change. And what you've tried to do here is say that change is possible, is doable, but people have got to be prepared to have the balls to take risk and share risk, not just expect rewards which may not ultimately be delivered by the retailer if you're an airport.
I don't think that there's that what we do is so much different from other airports. I just had the good luck that my board has been supporting the way we recruit brands, that not everything had to go through tender process, because I think this whole increased MAG situation and the overbidding is something that comes, I think, from the tender process. And I do believe that a good tender process also does reflect the market value of a contract. The problem is that there's always people that either think strategically and they or emotionally, but they do not necessarily be the best operators. And for us, I rather have a better operator with a slightly lower bid that he can still focus on driving business. If you're in a MAG, the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to look at all your costs. And we don't want to look at cost, we want to look at how do you grow your revenue. Because if people ask me, yeah, you know, we're not doing very well and this and that, I said, okay, so what are you going to do against it? Because giving a reduction on your fee or whatever doesn't necessarily mean that that's your key problem. It most likely is a top line problem. And this is what we're trying to address here. And I think from all the contracts that we've closed, we've made a very significant step ahead. The joint venture consideration is, I think, the next level, because there the airport also will have to take a different stand on developments that are taking place. I think you'll be more focused on the changes you're making. In the past, retail and operations working together was hardly existing. Now we do everything, whether it is terminal development, we do everything together, which is, I think, is happening everywhere. Here we have the luck that I found myself in an environment where operations was open for changes, and you see very clearly that smooth operations can only deliver happy customers. Bad operations will never make them happy, so we will make it happen. And for us, working together with the operations department, also now in terminal development, you really see that we start to think closer together, and we're thinking more, we think a step ahead and a step further. So what would happen if we would make changes here? And I think that is the merit of great management that we've been enjoying in the last couple of years with our new board. Also giving us the opportunity to develop things, because not every board has to accept that you reduce something. What do you get in? What do you get
at the other? What
do you get back? But I think it's going in the direction that we had all wished